At US Bank, we made a decision a little over 2 years ago to establish a global ethics office as its own standalone function. And I was very honored to be asked to lead that. The first thing I really had to do was figure out where did it belong in the organization and what was our scope. Because it was a bit unique at the time to have a separate ethics function separate from compliance. In financial services, what you see is that we have these massive compliance machines, thousands of employees in my organization that do regulatory compliance because we're a very heavily regulated organization. And we wanted to make sure that ethics didn't get lost. So we made a decision to keep it separate and really to focus on embedding that ethical culture across the organization. And we do that primarily through strategic partnerships with compliance, with our risk management, and very importantly with human resources. The risk areas that fall within the ethics office at US Bank are primarily focused on employee conduct and increasingly though on business conduct. We start with really the basics, the nuts and bolts of an ethics program. We have our employee concerns hotline, the US Bank ethics line, that my team is responsible for managing to make sure that employees are heard. And a large part of our focus has been around creating not just a speak-up culture, but a listen-up culture. Creating that environment where an employee knows that if they come forward with a concern, a question, or even a new idea, that it will be received well, that they can speak up without any fear of not just retaliation, but of embarrassment, ridicule. We want information to flow freely. So that's been a large focus. And so instilling confidence in our hotline has been a critical part of the program from day one. We also partner with other parts of the organization on training to help employees navigate the gray areas, make good decisions when they aren't sure, or ask questions, or know what to do when there isn't a rule, or maybe the rule is confusing. Or ambiguous. So really helping employees know where to go to get information because we can't expect our employees to know everything in today's environment. Other risk areas that we focus on, it really is that conduct risk that we would do something that is unfair to a customer or another employee or any other stakeholder. We've really tried to reinforce the culture of trust by increasing the transparency. Every quarter we share stories from our hotline, real examples of something that happened in the organization, whether it was a positive or a negative. We want people to know that we take this very seriously. One of our core values, and it's the first one we talk about, is we do the right thing. And so we want our employees to know that that's more than just words on paper. So we tell stories. We have introduced some one of my favorite things that we do is we call it the ethics rideshare, and you can see it actually, an example of it on the Bella Community resource page. It's literally me, one of our other leaders, and 2 GoPro cameras driving around in my car.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to accomplish with that is to humanize the program, but to really demonstrate that ethics isn't just its own standalone thing, that it really integrates in everything that we do. So I went for a ride with the head of our consumer bank, and we talked about how our core values and doing the right thing connects to the vision of customer obsession and putting our customers at the center of everything we do. So really helping employees see the connection between our values and our business. We introduced a new way of doing our ethics training that we're really proud of. We've got a phenomenal employee reaction. We created sort of a choose-your-own-adventure game in our learning system. The idea was not so much to teach employees specific rules, because as I said, you really can't teach people every rule they need to know. What we want to do is teach them to spot issues and to think critically. And so we used a bit of gamification and a series of scenarios that any employee could confront. And what we did was we gave them a scenario, and then they had to decide what they would do and how they would handle it. But what we didn't do is just say yes or no, that's right or wrong. We let them see what would happen if they made that choice. So we let the scenario play out. If the employee comes to you and asks a question and you respond a certain way, we sort of played that out for them so that they could see why one solution might be better than another. We got a really great response from our employees. Not only did 100% of our employees take the training, I would get random notes and emails from employees saying, that was the most fun training course I've ever taken. And not only was it fun to take, but it made me think, which is the best compliment we could get. We're about to introduce a transparency report, just some basic metrics to let people know, what do we do all day and what happens, especially when you call our hotline, but just some of the other data points that we track. The advice I would give to a new ethics and compliance officer really would be to take advantage of the opportunity that Bella offers to connect with others. And I will say that's what I did. Tim Arblich offered to introduce me to a couple of people, and I ended up connecting with Alan Usbay at HCA, who's since retired, and Alan was the most valuable resource. He would send me, he sent me various documents, examples. He most importantly, though, he gave me the gift of his time to just talk to me as I was building something that was really new. There are frameworks for what a compliance program looks like. There's not a set framework for what an ethics program looks like. So having access to some of these great thought leaders who could help mentor me as I was developing my program was incredibly valuable. The other thing I would say, beyond just taking advantage of those opportunities to connect, are take advantage of the resources that other members have shared. I think learning from one another is probably the greatest value that we get out of Bella. Not just, you can meet with people in your industry, which is fantastically helpful. I have found, though, that the opportunity to meet with people and to share ideas across industries, because the issues that face financial services are somewhat unique, but the ideas that another industry may have, we can bring into our industry, we can bring into our program as something new and fresh, and it's so valuable. We do go through the benchmarking process every year, and that data is so valuable to us as we look at how we can continue to elevate and mature our program. So I sit in on the benchmarking debrief every year. I bring in other partners in the bank, especially my communications partner, because she really helps us drive our program, because so much of it is getting the message out and how we talk to our employees. So learning from that data about where we are on the leading edge or where we're on the lagging end of something, where we can maybe come up with a new idea or plug a gap in our program by seeing what the best of the best are doing. That benefit of the benchmarking is not just getting on the world's most ethical companies list, it's really getting that assessment of my program against the best of the best so that I can see where I have opportunities to do something more or something new.